Hey Kyloa, I just watched about the first half of your videos, and I wanted to respond to this evolution video, but I also wanted to say a little bit about euthanasia and Christianity and sanctity of life, stuff that you talked about, I think, in your second or third video. Um, I would probably fall into the category of an atheist, though I never call myself an atheist because, I don't know, that word, a lot of atheists don't really appeal to me, I guess, because some of them are very angry, emotionally unwired or unhinged people. And so I don't like to, that's my association with the word, so I don't use it. But in the sense that it means I don't believe in a theistic religion, then I'm an atheist. Um, but I'm also very into Eastern spirituality, so I'm an atheist, but I'm still religious or spiritual. So whatever that means. I think being spiritual just means being human and being totally present to your full experience. Um, but in respect to Christianity having this general sanctity for life instead of for the individual, I guess I immediately thought of Soren Kierkegaard, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with his philosophical and religious writings, but for him, Christianity was all about the individual. And in fact, being religious for him, being a Christian, was not something you could just believe in, or it wasn't just by association that you were considered a Christian. You actually had to have this internal subjective movement of faith and taking a leap into an unknown, totally surrendering yourself to an unknown. Because for him, God was just the other, the holy other, and the individual was the Christian. You have to be an actual individual to be a Christian for Kierkegaard. And only when you are an individual, in other words, when you have a direct relationship with the holy other, in other words, as one single individual, you know God. And again, God isn't the traditional bearded man cloud image. It's more of a more complicated than that for Kierkegaard. It's just God is the unknown, the impossible, that you can only know by giving yourself up to that experience. So and whenever you talk about any kind of religion, you can just mean, by Christianity, you could mean, the actual majority of people who practice Christianity. You could be talking about, the institutions, the churches themselves. You could be talking about some specific theologian, some specific philosopher. Um, because I mean, for me, like the way I see Christianity generally, practiced by the masses, I think it's a terrible. I mean, okay, it might hold some communities together. Other communities it turns into extreme fundamentalist uh, wackos, honestly. Um, but I used to demonize Christianity, but I don't like to do it anymore because it's really the people expressing this idea called Christianity that we should focus on, and not the pure religion itself. I think is an amazing thing. But anyways, I think Terry Schiavo should have pulled the plug. I just wanted to agree with you on that because if life is the biological organism, in some sense, supports our awareness and our consciousness, especially our individuality, our sense of being a person. Without a fully functioning body, we can't really do that. So once that individual consciousness it's not there, or it's buried, or it can't express itself, then calling that sacred or sanctifying that as life, a bedridden paraplegic who can't even. I mean, I can't speak as if she's actually conscious or not. But the point is, none of us would want to be on a bed like that, paralyzed and kept alive, or at least I know I would. Um, so, anyways, evolution. I think there's several different kinds of evolution. Um, well, there's really one evolution, the evolution of the whole cosmos. But then, we break it down. You were just talking about specifically biological evolution, and how in the biological sphere of things we can have empirical proof of the fact of evolutionary development. I mean, we can raise fruit flies and have 100 generations within a few months, a few weeks, and show this genetic variability leading to a change in the phenotype of the fly. So we can watch the process happen. So that is a fact. But I think what's not a fact about evolution is any particular theory or explanation for why these observations occur. I'm thinking specifically of natural selection right now. Especially, I mean, Darwin's theory was a special case because he's the first one to formulate this idea of development over time, of increasing complexity over time and diversification and applying it to the empirical evidence that he had. So that was an amazing thing. But then someone like Richard Dawkins comes along and uses the knowledge we've gained about genes and the sequencing of how various genetic combinations lead to various phenotypes and biological organic development. And he extrapolated from that natural selection and gene mutation that causes the natural selection and then the gene propagation is the only thing that we need, the only theory we need to explain life. And I think the creationism with the way they try to be scientific about disprove, that's totally insane. And I'm not trying to defend creationism. I'm just saying that if you just want to talk about biological evolution, Richard Dawkins' theory is one interpretation of biological evolution. It's not wrong necessarily, but what about Stephen Jay Gould? He and Dawkins really have a disagreement over whether or not the genes and natural selection are the most important aspects of evolution, because Gould emphasizes more of a holistic way of talking about how organisms evolve together in communities, and that the species is just as important as the individual genetic code in my personal body or in the individual body of any particular animal. So in other words, Gould is saying that society is this higher level property that has a causal effect on quote unquote material world. Richard Dawkins is a materialist. Stephen Jay Gould is not, and I think that's what traps Richard Dawkins into his narrow understanding of evolution as being totally caused by natural selection and gene propagation, and that's it. There's no other. He doesn't need anything else to explain this world besides that. I'm running out of time. I want to talk about the other forms of evolution. I think there's a material evolution since the Big Bang until the formation of life, and then after the formation of life, there was a mental evolution or evolution of consciousness. And I want to talk about that a little bit, but I'm going to do that in another video in just a minute.